Hi everyone, I'm super excited to share my Keystone project with you today. It's called More of the Best Summers of Your Life, How to Improve Summer Camp Staff Retention. So I'm going to start off by providing a little bit of background information on why I wanted to study this topic. So I grew up at Camp Laurelwood in Madison, Connecticut. I was there for 8 summers as a camper and 5 summers on staff. When I was on staff, I was a junior counselor, a general counselor, an arts and crafts specialist, and I was a division head for 2 summers on our leadership teams. This is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. So hopefully many of you have had the opportunity to go to camp as a camper or work there as a staff member or know someone who has. I'm going to give a little basic overview of how the magic of summer camp happens. A lot of it is from the amazing and talented staff members there. So when campers are young, they look up to their counselors as role models, and that makes them want to be counselors when they grow up. And so camp trains these people to be staff members, and that takes their time and resources. And then eventually staff members leave camp in pursuit of other opportunities, usually when they get to be around college age. So this is something that I noticed happening at my summer camp, and I was wondering if it was a phenomenon elsewhere as well. So I did a little bit of preliminary research, and I found out that the American Camp Association has a little bit of information on this topic. So I came across this statistic, which is at the start of this summer, an average of 40% of your staff at camp may already be thinking it's unlikely they're coming back to camp next summer. So not only is this a topic that you should be thinking about really early on if you're a camp director or assistant director, but also it is a hot topic. The American Camp Association is, doing some research on this because it's something that's on a lot of people's minds. So all of this led me to the research question: what can nonprofit summer camps do to better retain their college-age staff members? And I set out to answer this by conducting interviews, and my goal was to make a guide that I could distribute to summer camp professionals that they could use to help with this issue. So for my research, I interviewed 6 experts in the field. So those are directors and assistant directors who are responsible for hiring, and they were each from a different summer camp. And I interviewed 14 college-age staff members across 7 summer camps and 7 universities. So a little bit of general information. Most of these people were in the Northeast, with a few exceptions of people in other places in the US. 13 out of 14 of these college-age staff members in this target market were people who had attended camp as a camper, so the vast majority of them had. And most of these people were not planning on going back to camp this coming summer. Also, about half of them reported that camp had done something to try to convince them to come back. So that's kind of how I measured if a retention strategy had already been employed to try to get these people to come back to camp. So in terms of the target market, there were 5 main themes that arose for reasons that people were not coming back to camp. So the first one was interference with academics. So if people had to take classes over the summer, then they wouldn't be able to come back to camp. One was the desire for professional experience. A lot of people talked about wanting to get an internship or something that they thought would help further their career in the field that they're interested in. A need for flexibility was discussed, so needing to come to camp late or leave early, and that's something that camp was not able to accommodate for them. People talked about the salary not being competitive enough. Of course, this is a summer job, so that's an aspect that it needs to fulfill. And finally, these people talked about other people not returning. So of course, that's a cycle, because if some people aren't returning, that might mean other people don't want to return. But in the same way, if people were returning, then maybe those people would return. So it kind of works like that. So to go over the prominence of these reasons that people talked about, you can see in this graph that the lack of competitive salary was the most brought up of these 5 themes, and then the other 4 were kind of more evenly dispersed. Something else to note is that a lot of people brought up more than one reason when they were talking about why they would not be returning to camp. So then to flip to the other side of the coin, we have the retention strategies that experts talked about. So these are things that these camp professionals are already doing to try to combat this issue. So the first one is offering networking opportunities. An example of that is something that someone told me they do at their camp, which is on like pickup day and drop off day and other like touch points with parents at camp. They'll have resumes of staff members available. So then the parents of campers who might work in that particular industry can take a look at it and see if they're recruiting for an internship during the year or even a full-time opportunity. It's a chance to make that connection. So you're still working on your professional network while being at camp. Another one is internship programs, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later as well. But some people talked about the possibility of offering an internship program at camp so that they would be able to provide that professional experience for their staff members and also get them to work back at camp for them. People also talked about post-camp communication, so sending thank you notes to their staff members, as well as sending out surveys requesting feedback to show their staff members that they're valued. And finally, flexibility with timing. So offering people the option to come late or leave early as they need to is something that people have tried to do to get those people to come back to camp. So overall, from this research, I kind of looked at where the two sides overlap to see what these camp professionals can do to get these people to come back to camp. And I came up with three main areas where I tried to come up with like feasible, realistic options that camp professionals can do. So these three areas are professional opportunities, offering flexibility, and more effective communication in the off season. So I'm going to talk about each of those in a little bit more detail now. So the first one is professional opportunities, and I think the main area this can happen is in internship programs at camp. So thinking about it kind of as two main categories. One would be an internship that someone needs for academic credit, and one would be an internship that someone wants just for that professional experience on their resume. So to kind of walk through the differences, if you're offering an internship for academic credit, then you're likely going to need to meet university requirements. So that could be a set length of time, certain responsibilities, a final project. It could mean that there needs to be an on-site supervisor with a minimum amount of experience, and there could need to be a formal agreement between the university and the camp to make that happen. And then if it's something that's just for professional experience, that means that there can be more flexibility in the type of project, how it will be assessed, length of time, kinds of responsibilities, things like that. But overall, it's something that having the chance to offer professional experience at camp could mean that you can get that staff member to come back if they can get that. And then second, flexibility. Of course, it's really challenging to offer flexibility at camp because, you might not be able to accommodate it, but something that's really important is to listen to these staff members because of course they want to be heard. So seeing if there is anywhere that you can accommodate them and make it a little bit better for them to come back to camp, that could really make them feel more compelled to return. And then finally, off-season communication. So one thing I wanted to highlight in this presentation is kind of that step you can take if you don't get an application from a specific staff member by the deadline. So of course, no one wants to get a super long email about this, but if you're just going to reach out with a simple message, something as simple as, "Hi, hope you're having a great school year, haven't gotten an application from you. Is there anything that we can do to get you back at camp this summer?" It's really about opening that conversation because like I've kind of talked about, these people really do want to feel valued. So by opening that conversation, it kind of allows for that two-way communication. And then of course, in a message like this, the more personal you can be, the better, because no one wants to receive a message that they think everyone is receiving. So that's just kind of something tangible that camp directors can do when they're looking to retain their staff members. So that kind of covers those three recommendations. And then in terms of what comes next, I really predict that there's going to be more and better internship programs at camp moving forward. I think that it really offers that professional experience that really will get those people to come back to camp. And it also kind of eliminates the need for flexibility because they won't need to come to camp late, early for an internship if it's happening at camp. So what I think will happen is more and more camps will develop internship programs and share the designs for them that work with one another. And then that's something that can become even more widespread and popular. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens moving forward. I think that's an area that even more research can be done. So thank you very much for listening. I'd be happy to take any questions you have at this time.